My name is Julia, and I'm 32 years old. My husband and I live in a condo in the city center. On days off, we go out together or travel. We were supposed to be enjoying our childless married life. But there, in the living room of our home where we were supposed to be happy, stood a woman clinging tightly to my bewildered husband's arm. And then, the woman in front of us said, "I'll be taking your promising husband and your condo." The woman seemed to laugh triumphantly, as if she had one. At that woman's expression, I couldn't stop laughing. "Did you hear that, Ryan? What are you laughing at?" The woman's face, alongside my husband's, turned bewildered. I said, as if to break her nose with my words, "The condo is in my name." And at my continued words, a scream came from the woman's mouth. My husband and I had a unique meeting. Working at my father's company, I was incredibly busy. From early in the morning until late at night, in addition to regular work, I had overseas business trips, home parties, and various events. As the daughter of a large corporation, expected to carry on in the future, I was living a heavily demanding life, to the point of exhaustion, neglecting even basic meals, until I finally collapsed. Then, concerned for me, my father suggested something unthinkable: hiring a housekeeper. "Julia, if things keep going this way, it'll really turn bad." "I'm fine. I just overdid it this time. I'll be more careful from now on." "No, I can't trust those words of yours. You always put work first and neglect yourself. The same thing will happen again. I'm worried about you, Julia." "Dad. Just so happens, a housekeeper sent from our company has someone they recommend. Have him come." "What?" It was an unexpected turn of events. Indeed, if the housekeeper was dispatched from my father's company, there would be no complaints about the quality of work. The housekeeper introduced to me was, in fact, my husband. Initially, the idea of a male housekeeper made me wary and even a bit unwelcome. But as recommended, his work was meticulous and delicate, always putting me first. To soothe my likely tired self, he would light my favorite scents in the room, prepare meals that were good for my body, and even when he wasn't around, he made sure I had delicious meals prepared so I wouldn't skip eating. Sometimes, he would even join me for a drink in the evening and listen to my stories. My husband, who had lost his parents at a young age, was warm and kind to others because of his own past hurts. As we spent such times together, it naturally became normal for us to be together. "Julia, you've been overdoing it again, haven't you? The dark circles under your eyes are terrible. I've been really busy, and I haven't been able to eat properly. I'm really worried." "Thanks. If I were by your side, could you live with peace of mind?" "What?" "I want to support you more closely. Can we live together?" "No, will you let me live with you?" His kindness was more than enough to soak into my weary heart, and we decided to get married. My father, who had also lost his parents at a young age, was concerned about my husband and welcomed him as our family when we told him we were going to be together. "From now on, make sure to rely on him," he said. Perhaps because of that, my husband, now confident in our life together, became more proactive in various ways. "How about we move closer to the company?" "What? Time is money. I didn't say it before because we weren't married, but I want Julia to have more time to relax, you know? But I don't have time to look for a house right now." "Then, I'll look for it. I'll propose a few, and we'll decide together from there." That's how we came to live in the condo we're in now. And then, "Why don't we head out to the suburbs for a change of scenery on our days off? It's inconvenient by train, so maybe we should buy a car." "But wouldn't a rental car be okay just for the weekends?" "I want to be able to pick you up when you're tired or it's late at night. Plus, I've been thinking it'd be better to have a car for when we need to haul big items or do a big shopping trip." With that, we also bought a large car from an overseas manufacturer. "Oh, and can I get a family card made for me?" "Huh? Why?" "Since you're covering all the living expenses." "Well, yeah, but it's more convenient and you get points." So, I got a family card made for him. I thought everything he did was for me. But I realized at some point that wasn't the case. I want to support Julia, but I also want to keep my connections with society. So, is it okay if I keep working at the same pace as before? Of course. Ryan, you're wonderful when you take pride in your work. Thank you. And so, my husband continued his housekeeping work just like before we got married. I heard that his clients were all women. That's because, due to a past incident with a male client, he was registered as a women-only housekeeper. I thought about asking him more about it, but it must be quite traumatic for him. Perhaps it's not something I should touch on lightly. I decided to wait, thinking he would tell me about it someday. So, his clients were all women, including nightclub workers, female entrepreneurs, young female celebrities, and even regular office workers. What? Are you worried? I mean, that's how we started dating and got married, right? It makes you think. How could I look at anyone else when I have such a wonderful wife? With that, he brushed off my worries. So, I tried not to think about it too much. Then, one day, I had some time before an appointment, so I decided to grab lunch at one of our favorite cafes that I sometimes go to with my husband. Just as I was about to check the materials for my visit after ordering, I heard a familiar voice. Listening carefully, I could clearly hear the conversation. This is a really nice place. And the food is absolutely delicious. It's one of my favorite places, and I really wanted to bring you here. Really? Thank you, Ryan. It was a conversation between my husband and a woman I didn't recognize. As I timidly looked towards the voice, I saw a young woman sitting opposite my husband, whose familiar back was turned towards me. From my seat, my husband was hard to see and had his back to me, so he couldn't see me. Taking advantage of this, I observed the two closely. Isn't that woman a celebrity I've been seeing on TV lately? I realized then. The female celebrity who was probably one of my husband's work clients, and he must be in a different kind of relationship with her. Maybe with other women too. Our relationship began in a similar way, and the meal that was supposed to be delicious in front of me became tasteless, and I could only listen to their conversation again. It's amazing, Ryan. From a housekeeper to a company executive, that's a huge promotion. What? I hadn't heard anything about that. Not even from my father. If there was such happy news, my father would have contacted me immediately. Well, I worked hard for it. True, Ryan's work is meticulous and flawless. That's what stole my heart. Did you fall for me? Completely. That's why I was so shocked when you quit being a housekeeper. You're not a housekeeper anymore, but you're still taking care of my house, right? Well, yeah. Hey, when are you gonna take me to that condo you bought? What? Bought a condo? That condo was bought by me, it's mine. When should we do it? Is your wife a nag? Well, yeah, she loves me so much. Leaving your wife like that to be all lovey-dovey with me. It's Mina's fault for being so cute. Really? Is it my fault? Maybe I should just become a total villain then. What's that supposed to mean? You, a villain? If it means getting Ryan, I could become one. I am an actress, after all. Actress? Just as I thought, the woman was indeed a female celebrity. What should I do? What can I do? As I was pondering, my husband and the woman began to move. Shall we get going? Yeah. I came by car today, let's drive a bit out to the suburbs. A drive? I'm so happy. The suburbs have those stylish hotels. All right. With that, the two prepared to leave the shop. Feeling nauseous, I stood up to follow them. There, parked in the distance, was the familiar car. With trembling fingers, I managed to capture a video I didn't even want to see. Given what I had seen and heard was real, I needed to start gathering evidence. After they left, I tapped on my smartphone. Hello. Hey Julia, what's up? You're working, right? It was my dad on the line. Yeah, sorry for bothering you during your busy time, Dad. No problem, what's going on? Well, your voice is shaking? Dad, you always notice right away. can I come over to the house today? Not outside? No, I'd prefer the house. All right, I'll make it back by 7 p.m. Let's have dinner. 5 hours until I meet my dad. For the moment, I headed to a client's place. After finishing the appointment with the client, I made my way to my parents' house with heavy steps. When I told my father everything, my dad, who dotes on his daughter, started to rage as expected. Bring that guy here right now. This is outrageous. Dad, calm down. How can I calm down? My daughter is being made a fool of, toyed with. Hearing my dad so angry actually helped me calm down. Yeah, I'm furious too. I guess he approached me with that intention from the start. Huh? Because it's the same with these women and me, started from a housekeeper-client relationship. Well, yeah, but... So, I want to get back at him big time. Can't let such a guy roam free. Oh, that's interesting. You'll let me help, right? I need all the help I can get from you. I can't do anything on my own. My dad, always so sweet to me, would surely lend me all the support I need. With that assurance, I couldn't help but smile. So, to start with, can I use the room opposite that condo for a while? It's vacant, so I don't see why not. Are you planning to leave the house? Yeah, it's better for me to be away from home for a while. All right. Then I'll start digging into that man's background. Thanks, Dad. If you run into any more trouble, let me know. With the strongest ally on my side, I stopped going home the day after next. And so it leads to the beginning. Back in my condo after a long time, I was facing off against my husband and another woman. I'll be taking your promising husband and your condo. Oh, really? Try it if you think you can. What? The condo is in my name. If he divorces me, he'll be left with nothing, you know? What? The woman's death knell rang piercingly in my ears. I couldn't help but blurt out a complaint. Shut up. What? Shut up. That's not what we're talking about. What did you say? I said the condo is in my name. That car, the cards my husband uses, everything is in my name. Why? You're just a stay-at-home wife, right? Riding on the coattails of Ryan, who became an executive. Don't just lie because you don't want to break up with Ryan. The woman's eyes were bulging, completely consumed by anger. I was being branded a liar through and through. Hey Ryan, tell her. This unemployed lady, this money eater, is no longer needed. Right, Ryan? Well, Ryan, you're too kind. There's no need to be nice to such a lady anymore. You said we could live here together, just Mina and you. Oh, Ryan said that, huh? No! I didn't mean it seriously. Why? Why would you say that? My husband turned pale and started making excuses, while the woman berated him. It's your fault. We were having a nice time alone in Ryan's room. It's not your room, so leave. With all due respect, could you leave? What? If you don't leave, I'll have to call the police for trespassing. What? Call them if you think you can. Your lies will be exposed by the police. Then, don't mind if I do. I took out my smartphone and tapped the screen. Unable to bear it any longer, my husband began to apologize. I'm sorry. Please, no police. He kept apologizing. The woman was desperately trying to lift his head, saying, "What are you doing?" So, you're going to confess everything yourself? That house, that car, those cards, everything is in my name, that you're not an executive but being supported by your wife, that you're a bankrupt loafer who can't even get a card. Are you going to spill all that to this woman? My words left both my husband and the woman frozen in shock. How? Why? The job thing? Lying to this woman that you're an executive? Or that you've been exposed as a loafer? Both. I overheard you two talking about being an executive. And as for being a loafer, I had Dad check it out, so it was immediately clear. When? At that favorite cafe. You were there with this woman, right? Oh. I was there for work and went to that cafe. Then I happened upon you too. I could hear everything you were loudly discussing. I didn't notice at all. Suddenly you're an executive, and you've bought the condo and car. Of course, the payments are all from my credit card's family account. It seemed odd, so I had everything investigated afterward. Huh? The day I saw you two was the day before I stopped coming back to this condo. I've been staying in the opposite condo, the one my dad owns. Pointing towards the opposite condo. I thought you were on a business trip. I did have a business trip. But the real reason I didn't want to come back to this apartment, where you declared you'd bring women, is because you seem to have been doing it even before that, right? Huh? What do you mean? I had the security cameras and our home monitor checked. It seems you've been bringing women here since we got married. How many were there? 5? 6? Julia! What? Why the high and mighty tone? I'm sorry. It's quite something, choosing such a secure place and then daring to do such things. I was surprised you didn't think the concierge here could be a witness, given they've seen the cameras and all. Oh! I took screenshots of the camera footage and had the reception confirm them. They recognized all the women. So now, we even have a witness. You're lying, right? Tell me, Ryan, she's making this up, right? Mina. Lies, fabrications, it's beyond that level. Everything about this man is practically a lie. What? I understand not wanting to believe it because I was deceived too. And to think we even got married. But that's exactly why I'm being clear. Women aren't just me or you to him. Celebrities like you, businesswomen, regular office workers. He targets women he meets through his job as a housekeeper and seduces them. That's his way. What? You met through his housekeeping job too? Yes, I was the employer. Seriously? Yet, while working for my dad's company, deceiving people like this, you've got some nerve. Claiming to be an executive without our consent, quitting without telling me or my dad. The times you said you were working, you were meeting women, right? Like that time at the cafe. That's traumatized by male troubles, so men are off limits? That's just ridiculous. In this day and age, many people have pasts they're dealing with, and indeed, there are others with such off-limits conditions working. My dad's company has others like that. But to use that as an excuse to prey on women, that's the lowest. My husband's expression faded more and more with my words. The woman, finally realizing something, teared up. But I didn't stop speaking. I heard you made quite a living in your younger days working at a nightclub in the countryside. And from then, living off women became a habit. Feeling the limits, you switched to being a housekeeper, continuing to live off women, right? How could you know that? Of course, I'd investigate something like this. Don't underestimate my dad's power. Your father knows? Obviously. My dad is furious. His beloved daughter is played by a scumbag. Of course, he's going all out. Seriously? The housekeeper who introduced you to me was from my family's home, you know? It didn't take much to find out. That person was your senior back home, right? You relied on them to get a job at that company, using a sob story of hardships to win them over. But in reality, you lived off women and racked up so much debt on cards you went bankrupt, pressed by numerous women to repay debts, and fled to New York. My husband stood still. Pupils dilated, either fighting fear or soaked in anger, but either way, it didn't matter to me. I was going through with this to the end. Then, the woman interjected. Is that true? Absolutely. Everything's been thoroughly checked with reliable sources. We even have my father's company lawyers involved. He can't refute anything. What? That's unbelievable. Well, it is. And you said the condo, the car, the cards, they're all yours? I did. And your father's company, the condo is yours, who are you? Oh, me? I'm the daughter of the president of the M Group. What? Didn't catch that? My father is. I heard you. What? The M Group's daughter? Like a real heiress? Yes. If you think it's a lie, feel free to call any company. Want my business card? Really? Why would I lie now, to Mina, the face of our company's commercials? Huh? When I saw you at the cafe, I recognized you immediately. You're in the commercials for our products. No way! Yes, that company is part of the M Group. I'm its executive vice president. What? Need a business card? No need. It's not good having an affair with a married man. Especially when the man is an executive of a company featured in commercials. It might affect your work, you know. You're kidding, right? It's no joke. I've already informed your agency about this fact. The woman, faced with a scenario she never imagined, screamed and clawed at her head. Of course, the commercial contract is terminated. We'll be demanding compensation for breach of contract through our lawyers. What? If we keep quiet, no one has to know, and the commercial contract can just stay as is. Mina, stop. The husband desperately held back the woman who seemed about to lash out in her agitation. You really want to make this a police matter? What? If you lay a hand here, it's assault. You'd be committing a crime for sure. Ugh. Besides, the world isn't as forgiving as you think. I told you my father knows about this talk. Do you think my father would allow such a celebrity to be employed? But it seems the public is also becoming aware of various aspects. Huh? What? That cafe, it's your husband's favorite, right? But you've been there multiple times, right? It seems your affair has been quite exposed. You're lying, right? I wish I were, but it seems true. Magazines have been contacting the company. Your agency must have been informed too. I haven't heard anything. Maybe you just haven't checked your messages? What? Your agency has been unreachable since yesterday. Oh. The woman hurriedly checked her smartphone. At the sight of her screen, her face turned pale and she lost focus. What do I do? This is bad. Mina, what's wrong? I've been getting urgent calls from the office and my manager since last night. Eh? What do I do? The chief says there's something they need to confirm about a magazine article, and I need to come to the office immediately. Seriously? This is bad. I have to go. Oh. What? It's fine if you go, but we'll be following through on this end. What? We'll be demanding compensation for infidelity, among other things, through our lawyers. What? No matter what you do or where you run, we're connected to your agency. Plus, I've recorded everything we talked about. Huh? Be prepared. Damn it! Fine. With that, the woman stormed out of the room. After the noisy exit, a heavy silence lingered between the husband and me in the living room. So, any excuses for everything up till now? No. And I didn't mention it in front of her, but you should atone for the crimes you've committed. What? Marriage fraud. That's why you left your hometown for New York, right? Huh? I got curious after hearing the housekeeper's story who introduced you to me, so I went to your hometown. What? You committed marriage fraud with the women, didn't you? Why would you? I gathered a lot of stories about you and those women from the nightclub where you worked. What I heard was pretty shocking. You're a complete case of marriage fraud. I'm amazed you even thought of running away. What? You, with all your money, could never understand how I feel. Maybe. I had no choice but to run. No money, no status, no honor. I had nothing to cling to or protect. Of course, I'd run away at the first chance. And the place you ran to was an old acquaintance's? Pretty clever idea to connect with women as a housekeeper. I've seen plenty of women living carelessly at home. I see. So, during your scams, you learned all about women. And then, you became a housekeeper specializing in serving only women. When I told them I was almost assaulted by a man, they readily accepted my request for men to be off limits. My father's affiliated companies are tolerant towards LGBTQ and unique traits. They created the company to provide a work environment for people who have a hard time working elsewhere, right? I thought it was a perfect fit. The introduction by your senior probably lowered their guard. Normally, they would have been more selective. As the conversation progressed, my husband's demeanor grew more defiant and he even started to mock me. That's on you too, right? You accepted me unconditionally, even married me. Even if you were tired, it was too easy to take advantage of. True, that's why I understand how the people you deceived feel. What? Sore loser? I don't have time for being a sore loser. I'm just thinking about how to deal with you. You married me without being deceived, so you have nothing to complain about. The very act of marrying was a deception. You've committed a great sin against me. Besides, the statute of limitations for marriage fraud is 7 years. If someone, somewhere, decides to act on it, you're done, you know? Someone, somewhere, like who? Like my dad, for example. Huh? My dad hates people like you. Especially a man who deceived his beloved daughter. And then used his position in a company to commit adultery. If this gets out, it's not just about reputational damage. But there haven't been any complaints to the company, right? So it's not a problem. What? The contracts you had personally connected with have been lost because of you. And it's not just complaints from the women, but from those around them coming to us. Complaints don't only come from users, you know? What's that supposed to mean? Complaints have come in from the buildings you've been working in, saying that a man in uniform has been entering and exiting, grinning, making women and children afraid. What's that about? That's... You were probably scouting for your next victim, right? Pretending to be on business, but really checking out your next prey? What? Caught too accurately, my husband turned beet red, while my mind grew colder. It was about time to settle this. So, please sign the divorce papers. What? That's not the right response. You see the situation, right? I can't even think of living together or being a couple anymore. Even if you refuse, I have conclusive evidence. You understand you don't have the right to refuse, right? I understand. He must have realized he couldn't win against the power. Too bad for him. Reluctantly, but smoothly, he accepted the divorce. By the way, don't even think about claiming any assets. If anything, I have a mountain of things I'd like to claim from you, like alimony and repayment for the cards you've misused. Impossible! I know it's impossible. That's why I won't claim anything in exchange for not dividing any assets. Just write it down quickly. Okay. Oh, and you need to leave this house quickly. What? Of course. Once we divorce, we're strangers. Plus, this house is in my name. If you stay without my permission, it's trespassing. Ready to deal with the police? Damn it! What, lashing out again? By the way, this house has already been sold, and the transfer is in 3 days, so you need to leave by then. What? That's too sudden. Who do you think caused all this? If nothing had happened, there wouldn't have been a divorce or a move, right? I got it. With no room for excuses, my husband reluctantly signed the divorce papers in front of him. For now, as long as he signed this, I was done. While carefully folding that important paper, I heard the sound of the entrance intercom ringing. Ignoring my cautious husband, I checked the monitor and unlocked the door. I thought about the guests who would be arriving in a few minutes. Who is it? What? Who's coming at a time like this? Guests for this occasion. What? I don't get it. Not for me, for you. What? Glancing at my confused husband, I walked to the entrance. As soon as the doorbell rang, I unlocked the door. From inside, I could hear my husband's bewildered voice. What's going on? He must have seen the monitor. The visitors displayed on the monitor were the women my husband had committed marriage fraud with. Is he inside? Yes. I've already made him sign the divorce papers, so it's your turn to do your best. I've already laid down the law with him, so just one more push. If you need anything, our lawyer will be ready to act immediately. Thank you. We'll contact you again once it's over. Saying this, they headed towards the living room, still echoing with his loud voice. Beyond the open door, my husband's screams filled the house like a death knell. Today was Sunday. Returning to my parents' home for the first time in 3 weeks, my father had been eagerly awaiting my return. "You're late. You said you'd be here by noon. I was working late into the night yesterday. I need to rest at least on Sundays. You must be tired." With that, my father showed his concern for me. On the coffee table in front of me, there was a newspaper article featuring a familiar face. While feeling complicated, I thanked my father again. "Thanks for that, Dad. The thing in the newspaper? I never thought it wasn't just those women. We only investigated the related incidents. It's not surprising he was involved in other things." Indeed. After getting married, to flaunt someone else's wealth and indulge in womanizing. True. But you were the only woman among many who got married to him, so while it's unfortunate you were deceived, becoming his main choice is something to be proud of, isn't it? What? Stop with the weird positive thinking, will you? Huh? Being deceived doesn't give me anything to be proud of. Oh, sorry, Julia. My father is always positive, but this time he completely missed the mark. Even a daughter as beloved as me realizes that men just can't understand women's feelings. I let out a sigh. People say women are scary, but men are just as scary, if not more. Well, yes. But it's good he was caught. People like him shouldn't be out in the world, and hopefully, this serves as a lesson to the public. Afterward, the women went on to thoroughly blame my ex-husband and handed him over to the police. Investigations revealed he had been involved with more women than imagined, resulting in an unforeseen number of victims. However, this has been a learning experience for me too, in both work and personal life. Huh? Judging people. That's my lesson. I caused a lot of trouble. I'm sorry, Dad. No. Really, though. Even if I was vulnerable, choosing someone like him is inexcusable. I'm truly sorry. My father looked at me with a sad smile. We must have been blessed with the people around us. It's something to be thankful for. Yes, very thankful. But that's why we need to value those people properly, and no matter the situation, we need to act wisely. I've learned a lot too. I hope those women can also move forward positively. Yes. Well, from now on, I'll make sure to manage my own mood without relying on others. Seeing my father's relieved face, at 35, I felt complex but realized there was no need to rush. For now, I was content and happy with my life. This experience hurt me deeply, but in the end, it cleared away all the baggage. So first, I owed my parents a debt of gratitude for bearing that burden with me. My name is Kelly. I'm a working mother who's been married for 20 years. I have 2 children with my husband, a boy and a girl. Both are in college now, so it feels like my role as a parent is almost done. Looking back, I can't tell if it's been a long journey or a short one. It all seems to have passed in the blink of an eye. We've never really gone on what you'd call a proper vacation, and we've always had to sacrifice our desires, but that's about to change. Once the kids start their careers, my husband and I want to travel. That's been my hope. But that dream was shattered one evening on my way home from work. I saw a middle-aged couple walking arm in arm, looking so happy together. To my shock, it was Sam, my husband. I couldn't believe my eyes and had to look again and again. Why? He said he was on a business trip today. No, this must be someone who looks just like him. Trying to convince myself, I watched closely, but it was undoubtedly Sam. After 20 years together, I couldn't mistake him for someone else. So, who was that woman with him? I'm his wife, standing right here. So, I instinctively took out my smartphone and took a photo. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was filled with terrible thoughts, and every time I closed my eyes, I could see Sam happily walking with that woman. The word affair came to mind, but I kept denying such a thing could happen. I went to work the next day without having slept a wink, and I couldn't concentrate at all, making one silly mistake after another. That night, Sam came back from his business trip. Carrying souvenirs as usual, looking too happy and refreshed for someone who's supposed to be tired. A wave of anger rose in me. All night, I had been tormented by suspicions about my husband, and there he was, humming happily as if he had a great morning. Man, I'm beat. The client just wouldn't get it. Oh, is that so? Is the client a pretty young woman, by any chance? What? No way. Look, I brought back some souvenirs. Let's eat them together. Where did you get these souvenirs from? What's with you all of a sudden? You didn't go on a business trip, did you? What are you talking about? He stopped mid-sentence when he saw the smile on his face freeze. Hey! That's right, it was you. Then, who's the woman next to you? The reason he stopped. That was the photo on my smartphone. A photo of Sam walking arm in arm with another woman. Why did you have this? I'm not that free. I just happened to see someone who looked a lot like you on my way back from work. But when I looked closely, it was you, walking happily arm in arm with a woman. Is that so? Didn't you think that walking around there, you might bump into someone you know? If you're going to cheat, at least be smarter about it. No, it's not cheating. Then what is it? No complete stranger acts like that. It's a serious relationship. What, not cheating but a mistress? Yes, I'm serious. I was at a loss for words. I never expected him to be so brazen, to admit it was serious. I thought I would hear an apology, something like, I'm sorry, it was just a moment of weakness. I'll break it off, please forgive me. But instead, he said, serious? Well, I figured you'd find out eventually. What? This smile, this defiance? I'm tired of walking with someone like you, slightly balding and all wrinkled up. It's only natural I'd look at other women, right? What? That's why I want a divorce, right now. Wait a minute. Why does the one who's cheating act so high and mighty? A divorce, just like that? Of course, it's only natural. I have another woman. I get why you'd want to cling to me, but I'm just fed up. Fed up with what? Look at yourself in the mirror. That ugly, flabby belly. Hair all gray and unkempt. Just tying it back isn't enough. And your face, not a touch of makeup, just freckles and wrinkles everywhere. You look like a real-life witch. That's harsh. How can I even see you as a woman? Always wearing the same clothes. Not even changing when we go out. You've given up on being a woman, so you're not attractive to me at all. That's not fair. I've been too busy living, I have no time for myself. That's just an excuse. Look at other wives. They go to the salon, wear makeup every day. They make an effort to stay beautiful. But you're just busy, making everyone uncomfortable without even realizing it. I don't want to be married to someone like that. You used to be so beautiful before we got married. This feels like fraud. Oh, and you're one to talk. That belly sticking out, face all wrinkled. You have as many spots as I do. On your days off, you just laze around, do nothing. After a bath, you wander around in just your underwear. I have plenty I could say too. But we're both getting older, what's the point in saying it? Yeah, well, I stayed silent and loved another woman because I knew you wouldn't change. But I've reached my limit. Being with an old hag like you is just disgusting. Disgusting, you say? It's all your fault I'm looking at other women, that I've fallen for someone else. Don't think you're the victim here. I never said that. With that, the husband pulled out divorce papers from his bag. Already signed with his name. We've been together this long, you can't complain. 10 years later. I was standing in front of a shop, looking at wedding dresses. A pure white dress is always a woman's dream, no matter her age. I smiled softly to myself, checking the time on my watch, wondering if it was about time for my appointment. That's when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, and there was my ex-husband. Sam, looking happy to see me. But he was skinny, his hair a mess of white, his face deeply wrinkled. And his clothes are shabby, exuding poverty. Kelly, is that you? You've changed so much, I barely recognized you. You've become so beautiful. Really? Thank you. True to Sam's words, I had undergone a significant transformation. After Sam left me with such cruel words, I cried for days. When my tears finally dried, I vowed to take revenge by making myself over so that, if we ever meet again, he'd realize what he lost. I took on all challenges and managed to slim down my previously plump body significantly. I did everything considered beneficial, even cosmetic surgery. As a result, my wrinkles disappeared, and so did my spots. I never skip makeup, and after removing it, I spend an hour applying serum from face to body. Thus transformed, I became more mindful of my attire. Thanks to that, I look younger than my peers, and even women admire me with envy. Yeah, you really have become beautiful. Why such a change? You said terrible things to me, which spurred me on. Back then, I was desperate just to live, trying not to burden you alone, working part-time, doing all the housework, living like a maid. But after you left, I started using my time for myself. Thanks to that, I've been reborn. I was even mistaken for a model while walking down the street. I'm truly glad we divorced. So, it's thanks to me, huh? Even wearing nail polish, like you're young again. Yes. No matter the age, a woman can always be beautiful. But what happened to you? You used to be chubby, and now you're skinny. If it were for looking good, I'd understand, but you just look miserable. Like you're advertising your poverty. Yeah, it's been tough, that's true. Why are you looking so shabby? It's because life's been tough. Wow, after working for so long, shouldn't you be living comfortably by now? That was the plan. But I've been thinking, I want to start over with you. Huh? I don't get why you'd suddenly say that. That's definitely not happening. Going back to you would just take me back 10 years. No thanks, even as a joke. Don't say that. Weren't you married? To a young and beautiful woman, you should be happy, right? Yeah, I got married. But I realized it was a mistake pretty quickly. Oh really? How so? I was deceived. Deceived? By what? By her. She turned out to be a monster. I don't follow. A monster, you say? Like a ghost or something? Well, maybe calling her a ghost would have been better. Despite looking so pretty, as soon as we got married, she stopped wearing makeup. So what? If she's cute, she's still pretty without makeup, right? Not at all. She was just piling on makeup to hide her real face. Her skin was rough, covered in spots, and she had even more wrinkles than you. When I asked her how she ended up like that, she said it was from repeated cosmetic surgeries when she was younger. But now that we're married, she said it doesn't matter anymore. She's like a monster. You saw her without makeup when you stayed over, didn't you? No, we never bathed together when we stayed over, and she always said no to intimacy until we were married. I thought she was just old-fashioned, but it turns out she just didn't want to undress. What do you mean? She was squeezing herself into corsets or something to look thinner than she was. That's a lot of effort. That's why I never knew her true form until we got married. So, she showed you everything because you're married? That's a sign of trust. Wonderful. That's no joke. She's not just plump, she's a blob of fat. Now, she just lounges in front of the TV all day, eating snacks. Her already plump body is getting even bigger, she's like a sumo wrestler now. That's a terrible way to talk about someone. I don't even know why I work anymore. It feels like I'm just buying feed for a pig. All my earnings go to her snack expenses. And yet, she's so picky about clothes and bags, never satisfied with cheap stuff. Here I am in these worn-out clothes, and she's buying new clothes every month, only to wear them a couple of times and then throw them away. Why waste like that? Because they don't fit after a short while. She should buy bigger sizes from the start, but she insists on buying clothes that fit her current size, so they quickly become too small. She's gaining weight at an alarming rate then. If that's true, you might get a TV crew knocking on your door soon. It's not even funny. She's so fat. I've suggested she do some housework or laundry to get moving, but she doesn't do any of that. The house is a mess because of her. She only cooks ready meals, just microwaves them and serves. That's why I'm so skinny at this age. I see. At least you managed to lose weight, although it sounds quite unhealthy. But it's the life you chose. As for me, it's karma, I guess. Don't say that. I can't stand this life anymore. That's why I want a divorce. Well, just get a divorce then. You're good at initiating them, right? The problem is, she won't agree to it. She says if I leave, there won't be anyone to work and earn money. She's quite thorough, isn't she? But it seems like you have no choice but to give up. No! I can't stand being with that woman any longer. That's not my problem anymore. We're divorced and strangers now. Are you still living in that house? Yes, I kept it after the divorce. Thought about selling it, but the kids were still in college, and staying there was cheaper than renting an apartment. Did the kids graduate from college? It's been 10 years. They've graduated and got jobs. The older one's even married with kids now. They're happy then. Yes, the grandkids are adorable. We're all much happier since the divorce. Seems like everyone's doing better without you around. Sounds like you're better off without me. That's right. Sam seemed annoyed but quickly resumed his usual demeanor, realizing that angering me would be disadvantageous to him. Did you remarry? No, I haven't. Then let's get remarried. There's no way. I wouldn't think of remarrying you, and if we did, you'd be committing bigamy. If it meant getting back together with you, she would probably give up. I'm not interested in someone else's man. Just as he grabbed my arm, a sharp female voice cut through the air, making Sam release his grip. Hey! What are you doing? The approaching woman was as large as a wrestler, her hair filled with gray, her face covered in spots, indeed ugly. And her makeup-free face looked like that of an old woman. What? This woman? Your affair? Help me! What do you mean, help me? Sam clung to my arm out of desperation, but we were no longer in that kind of relationship, and I certainly didn't want to be glared at by this woman. So, I forcefully removed Sam's arm and pushed him towards his mistress, saying, I'm not involved. Hey, you! What's this help me about? No, it's not like that. It just came out at that moment. You weren't trying to run away from me, were you? Of course not, I wouldn't do that. Good, because I would never allow you to run away from me. Of course. Sam agreed, pathetically trying to appease her, a far cry from his once assertive self. His wife then turned her attention to me. And who are you? Don't tell me you're trying to steal my husband? You've got to be joking. I'm his ex-wife. We just ran into each other and we're catching up. Just so you know, I took this man from you 10 years ago, so don't even think about taking him back. He's mine now. Don't worry, I have zero interest. What exactly about him is supposed to be appealing now? He has no allure as a man whatsoever. Well, yes. As long as he lives for me, he doesn't need to be charming. Exactly. I have no interest in your husband. Good. Just remember, he's my ATM, and I won't let anyone take him from me. ATM? That's what you married him for? Of course. I worked hard to get my own ATM. Well, good for you. But don't worry, I have no desire for an ATM. I can earn my own money. Just so you know, I'm not giving him up. All right. Let's go. I still have a lot of shopping to do. What are you buying now? Clothes, shoes, and bags. I'm planning to spend about $6,000 today alone. She glanced at me with a triumphant smile, clearly proud of securing a proficient ATM. In contrast, Sam looked utterly defeated, his eyes begging for help. But I had no intention of aiding him. He chose his path, so he can suffer through it. Come on, let's go. With that, the woman stomped away, dragging Sam behind her, the ground shaking with each step. About half a month later, I was enjoying a holiday with my son, daughter, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. A few times a month, my son and his wife, who lived nearby, would bring over the grandchildren. My daughter would stay home on these occasions, wanting to see her niece and nephew, making it a fun holiday for us. It's amazing how quickly they grow when you're not looking. Why don't you get married soon? If I got married, you'd be lonely, wouldn't you? While we were having such light-hearted conversations, the doorbell rang, and there stood Sam. Oh, coming all the way to the house, what brings you here? Are you going out somewhere? Why do you ask? Well, you're all dressed up and even have makeup on. Oh, this? It's just normal for me. Even when I'm at home, I can't afford to let myself go if I want to stay beautiful. Is that so? You really are beautiful. Did you come just to say that? No, not really. I need your help. I don't have any money for you. It's not about money. I need you to save me. What's the matter? If I stay with that woman, she's going to kill me. Oh my, that doesn't sound peaceful at all. I'm not joking. I'm already 60, at retirement age, and she's insisting I stay on as a consultant. Consulting isn't so bad. Everyone does it. That would be fine, but once I got my consulting paycheck, she started complaining about how little it was and even stormed into the company to complain. Because of that, it's become uncomfortable at work, and at home, she says we can't live on that salary and tells me to find a part-time job. I'm 60. If I keep working like this, I'll collapse. But there are people your age who still work. Maybe, but it's ridiculous that she doesn't work at all, and only I have to. I can't do much about that. We're divorced, remember? I'm constantly being told to work, and it's making me sick to my stomach. But you always loved working, didn't you? You'd leave all the housework to me and even go to work on weekends. Seems like you also went to see your mistress. I'm sorry for that. Even when I was sick, you'd just say it was work and wouldn't take care of me or even make meals for the kids. I didn't have the luxury to do so. It's okay, it's in the past. But being told to work must be what you wanted, right? How can I keep working at my age? Really? Look, I know I was wrong. So please, forgive me. I don't want to work at this age. Are you saying you want to come back to me, to live an easy life without working? No, not exactly. But you have your kids, and they're working, right? You're living comfortably now. Oh, I work too. I have to earn my keep. Is that so? Yes, you taught me well. There's no such thing as a housewife profession. If you don't work, you don't eat. You used to say, I'm supporting you, quite often. I'm sorry. You looked down on me for just doing housework, even though you couldn't do it yourself. And when I wanted to work, you said no because you wanted to keep your superior position, right? But in the end, you forgave me. That's because you realized we couldn't afford the kids' tuition on your salary alone. Okay, this time I'll do the housework. I'll take care of everything at home for you. Does that mean you won't work? Don't joke with me. Actually, I'm sick. But she calls it laziness. Oh, just like you did when I was in pain with menstrual cramps. You called me lazy. It's the same situation, so you have no right to complain. But I was forced to work, in pain all over. That's something you should discuss with your wife, not me. You left me for her, after all. It's inappropriate to complain to me. As we were talking, my daughter came out and, seeing her disheveled father, asked in a displeased tone, Mom, who is this dirty man? Dirty? I'm your father. Oh yeah, I remember him. The man who, despite his age, fell for a younger woman and left his family. Hey brother, some weird guy is here. When my daughter called for her older brother, he came but frowned immediately upon seeing Sam's face. What, it's just Dad. Aw, man, recognizing me as his father. It's just because there's no other name for you. The truth is, my dad left with another woman. I wouldn't want to call someone like you Dad if I could help it. Thanks to you, I've sworn never to betray my wife. That's the only thing I'm thankful for. What? My brother is thankful? I don't have a single thing to thank you for. You made Mom cry and put her through so much.
You all! It's because I worked that you could go to college. Without me, you wouldn't have been able to live.
That's what you were supposed to do, wasn't it? You decided to marry and support a family. Don't act so high and mighty for doing what's expected.
We're much more peaceful without you. Having Mom is enough for us.
How can you say that to a parent?
We don't think of you as a parent. You're the only one who thinks so. No one acknowledges you.
And to think, betraying Mom and ending up like this, it's laughable.
True. Betraying others only ends up hurting yourself in the end. But you don't have a place here anymore.
What? Then, my son's wife came out with my grandchild, holding my smartphone. Kelly, you have a call. Oh? Thank you. Who's it from? It's the doctor from the beauty clinic. What? Was today a date? That's right. I had an appointment to look at wedding venues. Mom, you're always so laid back about important appointments.
Beauty clinic? Wedding venue? Is Sarah getting married?
If it were my wedding, I'd go see it myself. This is for Mom's wedding.
Kelly is getting remarried? But you said you wouldn't.
That was just until now. In 6 months, I'll be marrying him.
Who is he?
That's none of your business. It's okay. He's the director of the beauty clinic I've been going to.
Not him, marry me instead.
You think I'd marry a poor man like you?
You really want to marry me?
No. I hadn't considered remarriage, but after seeing you the other day and hearing you wanted to get back together, I decided to get married. Thank you.
What do you mean?
Meaning? Seeing how poor you were made me want to reach for even greater happiness. I thought it would upset you.
That's ridiculous.
I'll be marrying a wealthy doctor and will be happy, so you enjoy your life with your partner.
That's absurd. Marrying me would have made you happier.
Shut up. Being married to you was miserable. Don't say things like you want an easy life with Mom. Your marriage to Mom would never happen, no matter what. Could you please leave?
I'm your parent.
If you don't leave, shall I call the police? My daughter flashed her smartphone with the police number ready to dial.
What?
Do you want to be reported as a harasser or a stalker? I'm fine either way. If the police come, your wife will have to pick you up. Imagine the trouble then, being crushed by her.
Stop, please!
Sam left, his face pale. He never returned after that. Probably terrified of being taken away by the police and his wife having to bail him out. But about half a year later, I saw Sam again at the mall, even thinner, looking just like skin and bones, while his wife had grown even larger, almost like a walking mound of flesh. They were shopping, with Sam carrying loads of heavy bags, heading only to stores with women's items. Sam, now a bag carrier and wallet, had a pale face, with no trace of his former self or even the man from 6 months ago. It seemed his call to the other world might be close. Looking so diminished. But, having chosen this path himself, I felt no pity. Only a sense of serves him right, laughing at the fate of the man who left in the worst way. His wife's treatment of Sam seemed to vindicate women everywhere, almost like a superhero. I was smirking at the two of them, but then I heard someone calling me. Turning around, there stood a tall man who looked much younger than his age, a truly handsome figure. He was the director of the beauty clinic. Now married to him, I've said goodbye to poverty and am polishing my beauty even further. My husband fell ill and had to be hospitalized. Our granddaughter, Emma, approached her grandfather, Michael, with a smile and took something out of the bag she was holding.
Get well soon, Grandpa.
It was a get-well-soon bear handmade by Emma. Emma. Michael received it with a surprised look, and the next moment, as if he realized something, he tore it up fiercely.
Hey, what are you doing? Don't trample on Emma's feelings.
However, Michael's eyes were cold. Don't you get it? Huh? Prompted by Michael, I also took the piece of paper in my hand. Upon closer inspection, the beautifully handcrafted bear had a message inside, saying he wishing to go shopping again once he got better. Is this? I was lost in thought, staring blankly at the message, reminiscing about something that had happened just the other day. I'm not good at sewing. Emma had indeed said that. The warm atmosphere suddenly turned cold and heavy, and we all fell silent. Tonight's dinner is stew and fish and chips. Ah, that sounds like it'll go well with some drinks. Please, drink in moderation. The casual nightly exchanges between my husband and me. I, Mary Parker, have been married to Michael for 35 years. Michael runs a construction company, and life has been smooth sailing. Dad, I actually got some nice liquor from today's client. Whispered our second son, Alex, to Michael.
That's my Alex. Let's have some right away.
Oh, Alex, don't spoil your dad too much.
Of course, I know.
Alex was fascinated by the buildings Michael had worked on as a child, studied hard to become an architect, and successfully obtained his first-class architect license. Not just in studies, Alex was well-liked and respected by many from his student days. Michael appreciated Alex's diligence and character, deciding him as his successor. Alex has always been good at capturing people's hearts. It's only natural. I smiled at Alex, scratching his cheek shyly, and then I glanced at my phone to see a notification for a message. It was from our eldest son, David, saying he couldn't get any time off for a while and wouldn't be able to come home. He must be busy as usual. David wanted to become a chiropractor, studied for 4 years at university, obtained his certification, and started living on his own right after graduation. When he was not living with Alex, David would always come home if he had a long vacation.
I'm craving Mom's cooking, so I'll come home.
Watching David come home and happily eat his fill of dinner became one of my joys. Our relationship was good, but in the spring of the 3rd year after David moved out, a new breeze blew. It was during one of his visits home when I served him a meal. Thanks for the meal. Unusually, he didn't ask for seconds and seemed about to finish his meal. You usually eat more, are you feeling okay? In response to my question, David hesitated a bit, mumbling before he finally spoke.
I fell in love at first sight with a woman I met at a mixer. I've been so preoccupied with her I can't even sleep at night. Spring has finally come for David.
Michael exclaimed happily, having listened to the conversation. She's really beautiful, she was getting the most attention from the guys, so I couldn't just stand back. David, you'll be fine. Michael, with a sparkle in his eyes, placed his hand on David's shoulder and said encouragingly, "Thank you." Inspired by Michael's encouragement, David left our home, and a month later, he started dating a woman. Their relationship seemed to go well, and a year later, they decided to get married. I want our wedding to be a big celebration, you know, since it happens only once in a lifetime. David called me to talk about the wedding plans. What kind of ceremony do you want? She wants to have it in Hawaii.
Hawaii?
I exclaimed, surprised by his answer. When I said I'm not great with flying, she got really upset and insisted on having it at the biggest venue in the city. Well, I'll talk to your father about it. After I mentioned it to Michael, he was thrilled about the idea of a big city venue. With all the expenses coming up, I'll cover the cost of the venue. Thus, David's wedding was set to be a grand event. Right before the ceremony, meeting the bride for the first time, she was indeed stunningly beautiful, always smiling warmly.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for covering the venue costs.
She greeted us right away. It's a pleasure to see you two so happy. Please take good care of David. She brightly responded with a yes, making me hopeful for a good relationship. After the wedding went smoothly, David and the bride decided to build a house about 2 hours away from ours and started their new life. Initially, David seemed to want to come home every long weekend as before. Rachel prefers to relax at home during the holidays. David messaged, to which I thought it's natural for newlyweds to want their privacy. Around that time, Alex returned home with his architectural license and began living with us again. A year later, when David and Rachel's daughter, Emma, was born, they visited our home for the first time.
She looks like her mom, so cute.
David and Rachel introduced Emma with bright smiles. We're both busy with work. It's reassuring to have you close by. We're here to help whenever you need, just let us know. Alex also nodded in agreement with our words. Thank you. I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so I can't stay long at other people's houses, and we won't visit often. That's okay. We hope you can visit sometimes, but we won't force you. Thank you. Following that, true to her word, Rachel never visited us, but David often called. Mom. I need your help. David would start, a phrase that became familiar to us. We always welcomed him immediately. We never interfered with their parenting, understanding that David and his wife were busy, but spending time with Emma became our joy. Time flew by, and before we knew it, Emma was in her 3rd year of elementary school, becoming very attached to us. On a day we took Emma shopping to replace the busy David and his wife, in a large mall. Emma's eyes sparkled with interest at everything.
Grandpa, what's that?
Watching the lady selling balloons with a bright, friendly smile, Emma looked at her curiously and asked. That's called a balloon. Balloon? It's filled with air, and if you don't hold it tight, it'll fly away into the sky. Michael explained, buying a balloon and securely handing it to Emma.
Wow! It's so light!
Emma danced around happily, laughing, while Michael melted with a tender expression. Pretty cool, huh?
Grandpa, thank you.
Afterwards, Michael kept buying whatever caught Emma's eye. A few days after a delighted Emma went home, David contacted us again. Looks like I'm going to be late again today. David said apologetically, and we told him not to worry, as we had already found several places where Emma could have fun. This park is huge, so you can play a lot. Alex boasted with his arms wide open when Emma came over and we all went to the park.
Yay! I want to go on the swings. All right, how about a swing competition then?
Alex, doting on Emma, played with her as if she were his own daughter, indulging her to the fullest. Emma, loving to move around, seemed to enjoy the park thoroughly. It was on one of these days, which we spent with Emma almost weekly, that something unusual happened. Michael started coughing badly from the morning, struggling with a cough that wouldn't stop. Are you okay? Yeah. It's probably just the dry air. Michael said, trying to brush it off as nothing, but the coughing didn't subside, even with water and cough drops. Dad, let me take you to the hospital. I'm fine. Michael insisted, but his cough only got worse. Finally, he coughed up blood and collapsed.
Honey! Dad!
Alex rushed to Michael, calling out desperately, but Michael was unconscious and didn't respond. I quickly called an ambulance, and Michael was taken to the hospital, with Alex and me following in a taxi. At the hospital, Michael received immediate treatment and, fortunately, it wasn't a serious illness. He would be able to go home in a few days. Still, he would need to rest for a while. I went back home to get what he needed for the hospital stay and informed David. They said it was because of the change of seasons, but please don't push yourself too hard. I said, teary-eyed, holding Michael's hand. Yeah, I'll be careful. Dad will be all right, you'll see. Relieved that Michael could respond properly, we decided to go back home. A few days later, while we were chatting with Michael, Emma came to visit with David.
Dad, are you okay? Sorry for worrying you when you're so busy. You seem better than I thought, that's a relief.
While David and Michael talked in a warm atmosphere, Emma, unusually quiet, didn't say anything. Emma, say hi to Grandpa. Even though Emma usually greeted Michael with a bright smile instantly, she looked tense even after David prompted her. Probably nervous about being in a hospital for the first time, I cheerfully said to Emma. Emma, you're wearing that cute outfit today. Emma was wearing the outfit we gave her for Christmas. Thank you. Distracted by the compliment about her clothes, her tense expression softened. Then, with a smile, Emma stepped closer to Michael and took something out of the bag she was holding.
Grandpa, get well soon.
It was a handmade get-well-soon bear. Emma. Michael, taken aback, accepted them and scrutinized the cranes. Then, as if realizing something, he abruptly tore it apart.
Hey, what are you doing? Don't disregard Emma's feelings like that.
But Michael's eyes were cold. Don't you get it? What? Urged by Michael, I too picked up a bear. On closer inspection, neatly folded inside the bear was a message wishing for Michael's recovery and expressing a desire to go shopping again once he was better. This means? Yes. Emma didn't make this. The warm atmosphere turned cold and heavy, and we all fell silent. As I absent-mindedly stared at the handwriting in the message, I remembered something that happened just a few days ago. The news had reported record cold temperatures that day, and as usual, David called. Sorry. Emma has a fever, and neither of us can come back right away. That's tough. I'll go pick her up from the daycare right away. Emma, who had worsened her cold, was left in our care and had been bedridden for a while. I hope you get well soon. While taking care of her, feeding her, and changing her clothes, I spent my free time folding cranes for her. Eventually, Emma, who had been delirious, gradually recovered thanks to the care. Grandma.
Emma.
Once she was able to speak, Emma blinked a few times and then noticed the bear I had made. What's that?
This is a get-well-soon bear. People send them wishing for someone's illness to get better.
Wow. I can't saw it all.
Oh, is that so?
We'll do it together once you're better.
Yeah. Thank you, Grandma.
Emma had indeed said that. It had only been a few days since that day, and it was just last week that her fever went down, and she was able to move around. Even if she had learned to saw by now, the bear in front of us was far better made than the ones I had created. Moreover, the handwriting in the message looked similar at first glance, but it was subtly different from the letters I secretly received from Emma.
Emma, I won't be mad, but please tell me who prepared this?
Michael asked, but Emma just bit her lip and shook her head. Emma. No matter how much we asked, Emma remained silent, prompting Michael to sigh lightly and turn to David. David, I've kept all the receipts for everything we've bought for Emma at home. Huh, why all of a sudden? David, still clueless, looked at Michael with curiosity. We'll check those receipts at home. If something's missing, we'll review the security cameras. What? In fact, we had been feeling that something was off with Emma for a few months. Normally curious and enthusiastic about new discoveries and playing full out at the park, her attitude had gradually changed. It was on a day with pleasant weather, just like any other when we tried to take Emma to the park. Grandpa, the park is boring. Emma had never been disinterested in the park before, so we were quite surprised. Emma, are you feeling all right? No. I just want a new toy. What about the play kitchen set we got you recently? It's boring. Emma, who had never been one to whine or complain, said so, which made us initially think it must be something significant for her to express dissatisfaction like that. I see. Emma is getting older, and maybe the toys aren't age-appropriate for her anymore. Michael reasoned, not entirely displeased to indulge his granddaughter's whim for the first time by buying her a new toy. However, Emma began to complain more frequently afterward. Grandpa, I already finished the game you bought last time. Really, already? It's only been a week. Aren't you playing too much? Though we usually didn't comment on David and his wife's parenting choices, we couldn't help but question this. Did you find the game that interesting? Yeah. All right then. Pick something you'd like. Michael said, indulging Emma again by purchasing a new game for her. However, the games Emma requested were either not age-appropriate or were limited edition items of high value. How was the last game, Emma? Emma shook her head slowly, her face stern.
What's wrong? This isn't like you.
I want that next. What? Ignoring Michael's words, Emma made another request. Wasn't it fun, or something? Emma remained silent, giving only a slight nod.
If you can't share your thoughts, I can't buy you a new game.
It was fun. Emma hurriedly responded, trying to mend the situation, prompting even Michael to sigh.
Can you promise not to play too much?
Yes, promise. While Michael continued to buy new games for Emma, he grew suspicious of her attitude and started keeping the receipts. Emma's requests extended beyond games to toys and clothes, yet she seldom shared her thoughts on them. Michael, not wanting to see Emma upset but also not wishing for her to grow up spoiled, gradually reduced the frequency of his purchases. Later, when I handed the bundle of receipts to David, an unexpected development awaited us.
Mom, Dad, I've never seen any of these,
David exclaimed as he arrived at our house with Emma, right after Michael's discharge. I thought so. There's more. David glanced at Emma briefly before falling silent.
Emma, why don't you play with your uncle for a bit?
Alex quickly sensed the situation and took Emma out of the room. David pulled out his smartphone and showed us footage. Make sure you ask Grandpa nicely, okay? Okay. The video contained Rachel instructing Emma to sweetly coax expensive gifts from Michael. This is unbelievable. Michael was unable to hide his shock, but there was more to the video.
You can't possibly play with all these by yourself.
This is something special I got for my birthday.
Be quiet. What's yours is mine. I won't let you have all the fun by yourself.
The footage also captured Rachel taking away the gifts and scolding Emma when she hesitated. You should be grateful I'm taking care of you. Rachel forcibly took away the clothes that Emma had with her. I didn't get anything today. What? Because of you, I can't have fun. I'm sorry. You're not getting dinner tonight. Rachel left without a second glance at Emma, who was crying and apologizing. I couldn't bear to watch the video any longer as it continued. It was too heart-wrenching. Terrible. What kind of mother does that to her daughter? I'm a failure as a father for not noticing this happening while I was at work. David said, his voice trembling and tears streaming down his face, his words filled with frustration and anger. There might be more she's hiding. Yeah. I'm planning to hire a detective. True to his word, David later hired a detective. The investigation revealed that Rachel was having an affair. But it didn't stop there. It was also discovered that Rachel had been selling the items she pressured us to buy for Emma and using the money to have fun with her lover. I want to have a serious talk with Rachel. I'll ask Alex to look after Emma, and I want you both to be there. David said with determination when he came to us, and Alex answered with a serious look. Leave Emma to me. Of course. We have a lot we want to say to Rachel too. Thank you. Later, David entrusted Emma to Alex and brought Rachel to us. I have work tomorrow, so please make this quick. Rachel said with a defiant attitude as David broached the main topic. Rachel, you've been keeping secrets, haven't you? Huh? What are you talking about? Crossing her arms, Rachel raised her eyebrows. Everyone knows you've been cheating.
When did I ever cheat?
Rachel continued to feign ignorance, so David showed her the surveillance footage and the photos obtained by the detective. This is irrefutable evidence. How did you? Rachel showed a moment of shock when confronted with the evidence. Doubting your wife? In this day and age, you can fake such things, you know. Rachel's desperate excuses were met with David laying out evidence after evidence. I don't have time to fabricate this much evidence. Why don't you just admit it? The evidence piled up on the table, overwhelming in quantity. Rachel, glaring resentfully at the pile, finally spoke up. I thought marrying the eldest son of a large construction company would let me live in luxury. Rachel finally spilled her true feelings. But then I found out the successor would be Alex. I told you from the start I wasn't going into construction, so your expectations were misplaced.
It's not just that. I thought I'd get to live in the Parker family home because it's in a prime location, but because of Alex, I couldn't live there.
It seemed Rachel had assumed she'd move into the Parker family home when she married David, especially since Alex was abroad at the time of their relationship. I had my sights set on that. Rachel muttered, leaving us speechless with disbelief. My parents and Alex supported my dreams, which is why I could leave the family home and do as I pleased.
You don't earn enough.
Rachel glared fiercely, raising her voice. Emma got a lot of pocket money and toys. I couldn't stand her having a better time than me. Rachel had taken the money we gave Emma and sold her toys to fund outings with her younger lover, whom she lavished with the proceeds. I thought I'd live a carefree life, but being made to feel so miserable, my frustrations just exploded. Facing Rachel's accusations as if David were the villain, he sighed heavily. You live too lavishly. We could live comfortably if you didn't waste so much.
I still can't forgive having to hold our wedding in such a desolate place when I wanted it in Hawaii. Desolate? It was the largest venue in the city.
David realized from her words that Rachel had been after his money from the start. Michael furrowed his brow and held his head, overwhelmed by the situation. I couldn't stand it anymore. Even the toys for Emma had been getting fewer. It's clear they weren't for Emma, and I'm not foolish enough to continue indulging you. Michael managed to control his anger, despite using his granddaughter to fuel her luxury. I had no choice but to pretend Emma made the 1,000 cranes to please your father, but that backfired.
Don't joke with me. My father isn't your wallet.
David stood up, furious.
What you've done is utterly selfish.
David rarely raised his voice, causing Rachel to cower.
I can't take it anymore. We're getting a divorce.
Seeing David about to lunge at Rachel with a burst of anger, I instinctively felt it was wrong and immediately spoke up.
What Rachel did is inexcusable.
Exactly. David, I understand how you feel, but... I urged David to sit back down and continued. Even if your relationship with us ends, you are still Emma's only mother. I admonished Rachel in a guiding tone. Despite being yelled at and having things taken from her, which must have been hard, Emma never mentioned your name. Whether David's angry shouts had an effect, Rachel seemed to sober up and listened to my words attentively. Consider Emma's feelings. Yes. Watching Rachel often immersed in her own leisure activities, I thought Emma must have felt lonely. Emma's behavior might have escalated because she endured harsh words from Rachel and desperately wanted acknowledgement. I hoped Rachel, as her mother, would realize Emma's true feelings, but I deliberately chose not to say that out loud. Finally, I decided to share something I had been hesitant about. Rachel, and you too, David. There's something I want to tell both of you. What is it? The bear and the handwriting in the message made it clear it wasn't Emma's doing. I wouldn't know just by looking at it. David admitted, feeling guilty. We've received many letters from Emma. I explained, spreading out the letters we had received from her on the table.
I want to marry Grandpa when I grow up.
One letter brightly declared. I want to play in the sky with balloons. Another read, conveying Emma's loneliness due to her parents' frequent absence.
Emma. I'm sorry. I was too focused on work. I'm truly sorry.
Hearing the two of them apologize as if Emma were present, I felt sure they would have a change of heart. After our conversation, Rachel left our house much more subdued than when she arrived. Weeks later, David and Rachel's divorce was finalized. However, we didn't ask Rachel for alimony, with the condition she become a better mother to Emma. She always complained about her low salary, but it looks like she finally got a job. David shared a month after separating from Rachel, who had quit her previous job following the divorce. Since Rachel hadn't worked seriously after getting married, it seemed she was being rejected at every job interview she attended. Well, if she's feeling the difficulty of working, I'm glad. It's a sentiment reflective of David's own journey to realize his dreams. I felt a warm surge in my heart. I want to make more time to talk with Emma. It's going to be harder than ever, so why not move closer to our family home now? Yeah, I'll do that. David quickly found a place near his family home and moved. A while after the move, we received a letter from Rachel. I'm having a hard time learning the job and get scolded every day. But I won't give up because I want to be a good mother.
She's having a tough time.
That's what being a part of society is all about. Michael's words conveyed support and expectation for Rachel. Once I save up some money, I want to buy Emma some toys. The letter concluded with Rachel's strong determination. I hope she works hard and changes for the better. My husband nodded firmly to my words. Since moving, Emma began visiting our house more frequently. The reduced travel time made it easier for us to support them, and David's life seemed more stable. However, Emma sometimes looked lonely, which worried me.
It's unavoidable, but Emma must feel lonely with her mother suddenly gone.
I shared my concern with David while watching Emma play with Michael and Alex.
Yeah. She sometimes talks about her mom in her sleep, and honestly, I feel guilty for what I've done to her. We'll continue to support you as much as we can, so don't hesitate to ask for anything.
Encouraged by my determination to live a long life, David smiled.
Mom, thank you for everything. Please stay healthy. Although I didn't say it out loud, I hoped that one day, a reformed Rachel would come to see Emma.
I won't do housework at all. You, the maid, will do everything. Commands my husband as I'm feverish and staggering. My ability to think is significantly impaired, and I unwittingly respond with, understood. Although I'm a stay-at-home wife treated like a maid, if he keeps this attitude up, he might end up in a serious situation. For instance, becoming jobless? But he knows nothing about my planned revenge. Just you wait and see. I'll make him regret it. My name is Sarah, 45 years old. I used to work as a manager in a restaurant but recently quit. What? Why did I quit after climbing up to a manager position? Because I got married at this age. My husband's name is Ryan. He's been a banker since graduating from college. He has a title and is what you'd call an elite. Before we got married, Ryan asked me, I want you to fully support me since I'm busy with work. I loved my job, so I hesitated to quit when he asked. However, getting married was a dream come true. A request from my partner I couldn't ignore. Deciding to support my husband, who would be busy and under a lot of stress both mentally and physically, I took on the role. Ryan is 3 years older than me. We met on a dating site. It's not that I never had the chance to meet someone before, but before I knew it, I was in my mid-40s. Prioritizing my career, I suddenly realized I had missed my chance to marry and thought, at this rate, I'll be lonely forever. Even though having children was out of the question due to my age, I strongly wanted to get married, so I registered on a dating site. Thinking, who would want to be with a woman over 40 anyway? I didn't have high hopes. But then Ryan contacted me, saying, I'm in the same age group as you, and I was overjoyed, replying immediately. After dating for about a year. Just a month ago, we finally tied the knot. I guess I shouldn't have rushed into marriage. I mean, who would have thought Ryan would turn out to be such a terrible person? At the beginning of our marriage, well, it's still the same now. But the first 2 weeks were really fun. It felt like the honeymoon phase, truly like a dream. We're both at an age where a big wedding isn't necessary, right? We said and decided not to have a ceremony but just a photo wedding. Then we went on a 1-week trip to Guam, and after coming back, we spent every day cuddling at home. I used to work almost every day, but supporting my loved one as a full-time housewife didn't seem so bad after all. Just when I thought, let's give it our all from here on out, the atmosphere started to turn ominous.
Hey, my dress shirt! What's going on with it? What's with this ironing job?
Ryan scolded me harshly. I immediately apologized and re-ironed it. While I was ironing, Ryan suddenly opened the closet, took out one of my dresses, and questioned.
What's this dress? You didn't have this before, did you?
When I answered that I had bought it recently, he threw the dress at me.
Spending money when you don't earn any as a full-time housewife. Don't waste money.
Even though I explained it was bought with my savings. Not household money, he kept insisting it was a waste. Well, I'm not single anymore, and maybe I do need to think more carefully about how I spend money. Thinking maybe he was right to call it wasteful, I apologized.
From now on, you are forbidden from spending money on anything beyond the bare essentials. Even for groceries, buy cheaper stuff.
That was a tough demand. I said, that's a bit much. And his mood worsened, kicking a trash can and yelling at me.
Don't mess with me. Rebelling against your husband as a full-time housewife. You married me, so just keep quiet and listen to me.
I couldn't believe Ryan, who had been so kind, could change like this. My body flinched at his sudden outburst. Did he find my reaction amusing? He started yelling even more aggressively. And loud bangs echoed throughout the house. It was terrifying. I cautiously tried to calm him down, but he was beyond listening and just kept raging. Then, he brought up the ironing incident again. Come on, how long have you been a woman? At 45, you can't even iron properly. Is that why you've never been married before? But, you know, I've only been a full-time housewife for 2 weeks. I've always focused on my job and managed household chores in a half-hearted way, so being criticized so harshly and directly really gets me down. Before we got married, I told Ryan I've always been working, so I'm not used to household chores, when he suggested I become a full-time housewife. He said with a smile, "It's okay. We'll manage until you get the hang of it. I'll help out a bit too." But that Ryan seems to be gone now. Our new home, which we had just moved into, quickly turned into a mess. The mugs we picked out together, now broken, seemed to symbolize the state of our relationship. Yet, Ryan's rampage didn't stop. I decided to take refuge in the bathroom until he calmed down. Even in the bathroom, I could hear the sounds of Ryan's tantrum. In that small space, I shivered, trying to suppress my voice while tears streamed down my face. At that moment, I thought about asking someone for help, but my parents are too old to rely on. And, being newlyweds, making a fuss seemed wrong, so I felt helpless. I had run to the bathroom in fear without thinking and didn't bring my smartphone. Without a way to ask for help, I felt utterly hopeless. After about 10 minutes, it finally quieted down. I timidly opened the door and peeked outside. To my surprise, there was Ryan, cleaning up the mess he had made. Despite his earlier fury, seeing him calmly picking things up was unbelievable. Noticing me, Ryan came over, looking sheepish. Seeing me on guard. "Sorry," he muttered and hugged me tightly. "What happened?" I couldn't understand.
"Look, I married you, thinking I had to support us financially, and then the stress got really bad. I'm truly sorry. I won't do this again, sorry."
Ryan, crying as he said this, seemed truly regretful, and I ended up forgiving him. Looking back, I should have walked away right then and sought advice from someone. I think I was too caught up in the sweetness of being newlyweds. And then, I just broke down crying, so I don't remember much after that. I do remember cleaning up the messy room together, but it felt like throwing away happy memories too, which was sad. A week after this shocking day. I don't know if he forgot about it or what, but Ryan went off the rails again. That day, I had been feeling under the weather since morning. It seems like, with age, or maybe it's menopause, my body doesn't respond like it used to, and I've been feeling off more often. Moreover, colds take longer to recover from than when I was younger. Even staying up a little late takes a toll on my body. This is tough. As I was coughing, Ryan, who was nearby, casually dropped this line. "Hey, don't you dare get me sick." I didn't understand what he was saying at first and couldn't respond right away. Doesn't he have any comforting words for his wife? I was so baffled, I asked him why he would say something like that.
"I'm relied on at work. If I catch a cold and go down, it's gonna be a big deal. Unlike you, who's just a stay-at-home wife with nothing but chores."
I couldn't believe my ears. It was as if he was looking down on stay-at-home wives, no, on me. And Ryan kept on with his lowest comments. "Don't pass your cold to me and get better fast. And by the way, no matter how bad you feel, I won't allow any slacking off on the chores." Slacking off on chores. Doesn't he think about letting me rest when I'm feeling sick? I was so irritated that I snapped back. Then, like before, Ryan started yelling.
"It's just chores. You're a stay-at-home wife, it's only natural for you to handle them."
I realized arguing with Ryan in this state was pointless. Fed up, I just nodded and started doing the chores with my weary body. Yeah, that's right. Ryan left for work with a smirk on his face. It made me so angry, I wanted to yell back. But, unable to talk back, I cried out of frustration for being so helpless. Was it because I forced myself to do housework, despite being physically and mentally exhausted? By midday, my body felt incredibly heavy, and I felt feverish. When I checked my temperature, it showed 38.1 degrees Celsius. A reminder that pushing myself too hard at this age is a bad idea. I decided to stop doing housework and rest. It seems I was more exhausted than I thought, as I slept deeply for a long time. When I woke up, it was dark, and Ryan's scowling face was right in front of me. Sleeping in the daytime, huh? Must be nice, he snapped as soon as I woke up. I tried to explain the situation. But Ryan, who had said such things in the morning, wouldn't listen.
Shut up. Don't you dare use having a fever as an excuse to slack off and nap instead of doing housework.
Demanding housework while I'm dizzy with fever. Seriously, I can't. Sorry, but today, you need to take care of yourself, I said, but Ryan threw a cushion at me.
Why should I have to do housework? You became a full-time housewife to support me, didn't you? Stop being so spoiled.
Indeed, I chose to be a full-time housewife to support Ryan. But I've been saying how hard it is to do housework when I'm not feeling well. And yet, he still demands it? Doesn't he see how unreasonable it is to expect housework under these conditions? My mind was foggy, but my emotions swelled. But confronting him might lead to another outburst. The last thing I needed was a repeat of that incident in this condition. With the fever, I had no choice but to listen to Ryan. Then, feeling emboldened, Ryan made a terrible statement with a laugh. I won't do any housework. You, the maid, will handle everything. Maid. When did I go from being a full-time housewife to a maid?
Hey! Are you listening? If you understand, then respond, you maid.
I had a lot on my mind, but no energy to talk back. Understood. Being physically and mentally drained, I inadvertently agreed. Arguing seemed too much trouble, and as a result.
Then hurry up and make my dinner. I'm going to take a bath.
Demanding dinner as if it were the most natural thing. Why do I have to stand in the kitchen feeling this dizzy? I immediately regretted my understood response. As I reluctantly got up, Ryan made another absurd demand. Oh, by the way, next Friday, I'm having my boss, colleagues, and subordinates over to show off our new place and you. And our wedding photos. Everyone wants to see them. Make sure you get over your cold by then, clean up your messy face and the room. Aim for a room without any sign of living in it, and make yourself look younger. Hearing this, something inside me snapped. Is this something you say to someone feeling dizzy? Especially about next Friday. That's in just a few days. I don't know if I'll be well by then, and it's too rushed anyway. And what's with calling my face messy? Feeling a rush of emotions, I thought, I'm definitely going to make him regret this. I decided to get back at Ryan. 4 days later. My fever had gone down, but I still had a bit of a cough due to phlegm. Come on, we have guests coming today, and you're still not over your cold? Yes, today was the day Ryan's colleagues from the bank were coming over. Although I was 90% recovered from the cold, it wasn't completely gone. And I was just getting over it. Could we possibly reschedule? It wouldn't be right for the guests, I suggested. Ryan responded with a dismissive attitude. Look, being a banker means being incredibly busy and scheduling is a nightmare. Everyone made time for today, and you're not noticing this? If you were a more thoughtful woman, you wouldn't have caught a cold in the first place. Always with the sarcasm. Does he think he's being cool? Fine. I'll make sure to hydrate my throat and fully recover before the guests arrive. Reluctantly agreeing, Ryan started ordering me around with what needed to be done before he got back.
Make sure you clean up properly before I get back. Don't leave laundry lying around. Like I said before, I want zero signs of living here. And don't you dare serve bad food. Don't embarrass me.
Ryan was pumped up for the guest's visit. It made his tone even harsher than usual, tripling my irritation. When I looked at him defiantly, he glared back without backing down.
Hey, you're a full-time housewife, right? So you're basically the maid. And you're taking that tone with your master?
Still spouting ridiculous lines. Does he think he's some kind of king? Commanding from his high horse.
My word is law in this house. I'm the one in charge here, so it's high time you changed your attitude.
This wasn't the speech of a king. It was tyranny. I momentarily wondered if I should kneel and kiss his feet, it was that outrageous. Unbearable to listen to. Wishing he'd just go to work already, I nodded. I'll have everything ready by the time you get back. As I said that, Ryan left for work with a pleased look.
Just make sure everything is spotless. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to say, clean up that nasty face of yours too.
The dirty face comment really irks me, and I wish he would stop. Especially since he's no prize himself. Putting himself on a pedestal while looking down on my appearance, classic tyrant behavior, right? I watched Ryan leave, irritated. Once he was gone, I immediately started getting ready. Aiming for a no signs of life look in the apartment as he demanded. Since I had already moved stuff around while Ryan was at work for this day, this part was relatively quick. And then, making my dirty face clean. This actually took a lot of time, but what can you do? Ryan insisted. As I was preparing, 6:30 p.m. came around quickly. Ryan and his guests would be back in 30 minutes. I rushed to get everything ready on time. After 7 p.m.
I'm home. Brought everyone from the office.
Guests entered, saying, "Excuse us," as they arrived. As I greeted everyone, Ryan's eyes widened.
Ryan's wife is incredibly beautiful.
Everyone complimented me, but Ryan looked incredulous. Well, he should be. After being called dirty face, I was so annoyed that I went to a spa and a hair salon, even bought new clothes. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. While everyone was mingling, Ryan seemed somewhat displeased. Probably thinking, how dare a full-time housewife indulge in luxury? But he couldn't make a scene in front of his colleagues as usual. I thought, that's very, very sad. I then led everyone to the living room.
Wow. Your place is really neat. Are you a minimalist or something?
Ryan was surprised again. I had sold or thrown away a lot of my stuff from my single days, so there was much less clutter. When Ryan saw the confusion, someone noticed something. Are you going on a trip tomorrow or something? They had found a duffel bag and a suitcase. I had packed my personal belongings. Even Ryan had to ask. Why are you doing this? He looked like a volcano ready to erupt. To that, I coolly responded. It's all according to your wishes, right? He seemed like he wanted to say more, but knowing him, opening his mouth would unleash endless rage. Ryan remained silent, though clearly dissatisfied. Then, as if to reset the atmosphere, I urged everyone to sit and started serving food and drinks.
Wow. Amazing food. That's the touch of a former restaurant manager.
The dishes weren't ordinary. They were made with high-quality ingredients. I had prepared everything the day before, just reheating and finalizing the dishes for today. This too took Ryan by surprise. How much money did you pour into this? He seemed on the verge of yelling. But, of course, he wouldn't dare say anything in front of the guests. As the party started, Ryan, having had a few drinks, seemed to be in a better mood. That's when I suggested. How about we look at our wedding photos now? Everyone excitedly agreed, eager to see. Ryan, eager to show off, beamed, "Show them off now."
Wow. You two look so happy together.
Internally, I scoffed at the irony, given his recent dirty face comments. I then, as if revealing my inner thoughts, showed them a video.
Hey, you're a full-time housewife, right? So you're basically the maid. And yet, you take that tone with your master?
What? The room went silent as if the previous noise was a lie. I had secretly recorded our conversation that morning on my phone.
Hey! What the hell is this? Stop it now.
Ryan panicked, trying to snatch my phone. But I dodged, turning the volume to the max to expose the real Ryan.
Stop it. What are you doing? When did you record this?
He lost his temper, hurling insults. His true tyrannical nature was unmistakable. Everyone's eyes were wide with shock. The room buzzed with whispers. Isn't this bad? He's been awful to his wife all evening. So this is his true self. Yet, Ryan frantically tried to grab my phone, eventually pinning me down in an attempt to take it. He was restrained by his colleagues, calmed down, as they pulled him off me. Ryan's colleague kindly helped me up, asking if I was okay. Eventually, Ryan realized the commotion around him and regained his composure. He must have realized he had gone too far. He seemed to regret it. What's with that audio from earlier and your violent behavior towards your wife just now? His boss confronted him. Colleagues chimed in, that's not right, leaving Ryan mumbling excuses. Seeing this, I felt validated in my actions. Apologize to your wife, chant started, and Ryan, for the first time, apologized on his knees. I'm sorry. But it was too late. And the apology felt forced, only made because others told him to. There was no way I was going to forgive him for this.
Do you really think I'm going to forgive you? Even when I was sick, you made me work like a servant, treating me like a maid. I'm filing for divorce from someone as low as you.
I pulled out the divorce papers from my pocket and urged him to sign. Ryan, not expecting me to produce divorce papers, panicked and grabbed my arm.
What? Divorce? Wait, I really messed up. You don't have to do housework when you're sick anymore. Please, don't divorce me. I want us to be together forever.
After all he had done, I was amazed he could say such a thing.
How can you say that? Who would want to stay with a husband who calls their face dirty and looks down on them?
Even in this situation, I felt genuinely happy when those around us commented, "Dirty face?" But she's so beautiful. Then Ryan pointed out my transformation.
I went to the salon and got new clothes because I called my face dirty. I did all this just to meet your expectations. But I was afraid you'd be angry because it was a waste of money.
Ryan had no comeback and fell silent. Seeing him at a loss for words, he tried to change the subject. So, what's with all the packed bags in the room? I snorted and replied. I was just making the room free of any signs of living, as you wanted. And the bags? They're packed because I'm divorcing you and leaving today. This seemed to shock him. What? You're kidding, right? I really am sorry. I got carried away because I got married at this age. I never really thought of you as just a maid. His desperate apologies seemed to ignore the presence of everyone around him. A pitiful sight, indeed. Ryan's superiors and colleagues were visibly taken aback by his behavior. And so, I put an end to this tumultuous scene by firmly telling Ryan it was over.
No matter what you say, it's too late. I'm divorcing you and leaving this house. So sign this away now.
Ryan was shocked by my angry demeanor. It's no surprise, given how I'd always been so submissive. Yet, Ryan hesitated to sign the divorce papers. That's when his superiors couldn't stand by silently any longer.
If you really feel sorry, let her go.
Confronted by everyone, Ryan tearfully agreed to the divorce. I thanked everyone for their help and apologized for the disturbance before leaving with my belongings. Ryan tried to follow me but was held back, still shouting.
I was wrong. I won't call you a maid anymore. Please come back. Please.
The once intimidating Ryan now seemed so small. And apparently, he was continuously scolded by everyone for his past actions, regretting how he had behaved. This incident spread throughout his company, leading to everyone distancing themselves from him. Furthermore, his superiors reported the issue. If you're going to treat your wife like that, we don't want you here." It seems he was encouraged to resign, and now he's busy looking for a new job. Moreover, I filed for alimony against Ryan. Because of that, he had to pay from his savings, which significantly depleted his bank account, and now he's in a rush to find employment as soon as possible. Now unemployed and with his pride shattered, Ryan seems to be struggling with depression. Being labeled as unemployed has made him wary, wondering if maybe someone is pointing fingers at me, and now, he feels hesitant to even leave his house. Well, he brought this upon himself. I have no interest in what happens to Ryan from here on out and prefer to never be involved with him again. So, let's leave Ryan's story at that and move on to what happened to me after that tumultuous scene. That night, I stayed in a hotel and celebrated my freedom alone with a drink. I hadn't been allowed to drink during my marriage, except on trips, because someone who doesn't earn shouldn't drink. It tasted incredibly good. Rushing into marriage was truly a mistake, I reflect, regretting how quickly I chose a partner on a matchmaking site. After a long while, I enjoyed some drinks and, feeling quite tired among other things, I fell asleep rather quickly. But to my surprise, the next morning, I received a call from my previous workplace. When I answered the phone, it was a request for me to return to work, saying, "It would be a shame to lose someone as talented as you." Delighted, I accepted immediately. And am now back to working hard. Meanwhile, I'm staying in company housing until I find a new place. My colleagues have welcomed me back warmly, making me feel valued and comfortable. Despite the short marriage being full of unpleasant experiences, it taught me a lot. I plan to use in moving forward with my life.
Thank you for having our child, Sarah. I'm sure he'll turn out to be a handsome boy just like you.
Hearing about my sister giving birth, I was shocked by the conversation coming from inside the hospital room as I stood in front of the door. It was unmistakably my sister and my husband's voices. I was surprised that my husband was here, but even more shocked to learn that my sister's child was his. I did wish for a girl who'd look like Sarah, though.
Oh, come on. Shall we go for a second one then?
It seemed that the father of the child my sister had indeed was my husband, and they had been having an affair behind my back for a long time. I understood everything just from that conversation. And then, I decided to open the door to my sister's hospital room. This was the first step towards my revenge. My name is Amy, 34 years old. I'm currently a stay-at-home wife, but before I got married, I worked in the accounting department of a small to medium-sized company. And I have an older sister, Sarah, who is 2 years my senior. However, since her student days, my sister had been involved in many problematic behaviors, often ending up in the care of the police. Perhaps it was because of that, my sister has always had a bad relationship with our parents, and after dropping out of high school, she ran away from home. Since then, we lost all contact with her. This left our parents wringing their hands, unsure of what to do, but eventually, they concluded she would return home on her own and thus did not request the police to search for her. However, to me, she was my beloved sister. I quietly searched for her on my own, but realized the limits of what I could do alone. Just as I was thinking I had no choice but to ask for help from our parents and acquaintances, my elderly parents passed away one after the other. When my parents died, I was already working, and with the rush of preparing for the wake and funeral, I had no time to search for my sister. After all the duties for my parents' funerals were completed, I was at the lowest point of despair. What should I do? I'm all alone now. I've lived with the support of my dad and mom until now. I wonder if I can manage on my own. During this time, a friend who had always been concerned about my mental and physical well-being invited me out for tea one day. As we sat down, my friend, fiddling with their smartphone, said, "Hey, do you know this person? I think she might be your sister, Amy, but am I wrong?"
Wow. Let me see.
According to my friend, my sister Sarah had become a yoga instructor and was active on social media. I immediately checked out the videos my friend told me about. It was unmistakably my sister, Sarah. Her video channel was popular, with subscriptions numbering in the tens of thousands. I was filled with joy and tears to know that my sister was alive and well. Wanting to meet her, I wrote a message in the comments section. I received a reply almost immediately. From there, after more than a decade, my interaction with my sister on social media resumed. It was as if I was filling in the gaps of all those years, communicating with her daily. Before long, I was able to reunite with my sister. Seeing her for the first time in years, I was surprised at how much she had changed into a refined and wonderful woman, completely different from before.
Is it really you, sis? Come on. Did you forget my face just because we haven't seen each other for a decade? Wow, it's really you, sis. Have you been well?
I cried with joy and hugged my sister. She was happy to see me too and apologized for letting me go through tough times alone. Since then, our family bonds were mended to the point where we would share updates about each other's lives. After reuniting with my sister, I returned to my normal life. My friends and colleagues at work were happy to see me regain my spirit. I felt very grateful, realizing that I am who I am today because everyone supported me. Later, feeling more positive, I joined a tennis club for working adults at the invitation of a friend. There, I met a man named John. John, 3 years older, was a wonderful man who patiently taught me, a beginner in tennis. John, interested in my eagerness to learn tennis, often invited me out for meals after the tennis club sessions ended.
Amy, you're really hardworking, aren't you?
Not at all. It's just that your teaching method is so good, it makes me want to try harder.
You say the nicest things. Hey, how about we go see a movie next time? I got some movie tickets. Oh, this one. I've been wanting to see this movie. I'd love to go. Okay. Let's go on our next day off.
I was really happy about the invitation because I had been interested in John myself. I couldn't wait for our day off, wondering what to wear. During such times, I would consult my sister and get her advice. On the promised day off, I arrived at the meeting place early, but John had also come earlier than the scheduled time. Because both of us had acted unconsciously, we ended up laughing together. Until the movie started, we used the time to talk about personal stories and our hobbies. We discovered that we shared many of the same interests. When I mentioned that my sister was a yoga instructor. Wait, isn't that the beautiful instructor, Sarah?
Yes. John, do you know her? Know her? I'm actually a big fan of Sarah. I often watch her videos. I had no idea.
Learning that John was a fan of my sister became a turning point for us, leading to many dinner dates and eventually a relationship. John proposed to me, mentioning that he was due for a promotion at work soon. Thus, we got engaged and went to meet John's parents. John's parents were very kind and were thrilled about our marriage. When I messaged my sister about the engagement, she immediately called me.
Amy, congratulations. You're getting married before me. I'm so jealous. Thank you. You're so popular, you could get married anytime.
And then she apologized for causing so much trouble by running away and everything that followed.
But I might not be able to make time for the meet and greet or formal greetings. But I'll definitely be there for the wedding.
That's okay. John understands, too. Just make sure to come when the wedding date is set, okay? You're like a parent to me, after all. With that, she said she had to return to work, and the call ended. I was touched by my sister's sincere congratulations. Despite her busy schedule, she prioritized me, reminding me of her kindness. I also announced my engagement at work. My boss and colleagues all congratulated me, making me feel truly blessed. As I began to prepare for marriage, I decided to quit my job and become a full-time housewife to support my husband. Since my husband had expressed a desire for me to be a stay-at-home wife after getting married, I agreed. Amy, what should we do about our house after we get married? Well, considering we might have children in the future, a larger house would be better. A big house, huh? If we're doing it, I'd like one with a garden. Let's buy in a location where you'd like to live.
Really? Thank you.
With John becoming busier due to his promotion, I took on the responsibility of preparing for the wedding and arranging our new home. It was tough handling everything on my own, but John was always there for the important moments and gave thoughtful consideration. My affection for John, so kind and reliable, deepened even more. After registering our marriage, we immediately moved to a suburban house with a garden. Of course, the purchase was completed before our registration. As John had said, we chose a location that was convenient for me, and it was also within a 30-minute drive to his company, making it a great location.
Now we can be closer to nature, which I think will be great for our kids too.
Typical Amy, always thinking ahead for our future. In the beginning of our marriage, we lived happily every day. However, I was unaware that this happiness would soon crumble. 3 years into our marriage, I turned 34. Yet, we hadn't been blessed with children, and I started to feel increasingly anxious. One reason for my anxiety was reaching my mid-30s, knowing that any pregnancy from now would likely be considered high risk for both the baby and me. One more thing. Around this time, John's returns home began to get later and later. He also started to carry his smartphone with him everywhere in the house. Whether at meals or in the bath, he was constantly on his phone. "Hey, you've been on your phone a lot lately, what's up?" "Oh, work has just been really busy lately, and I've had to deal with some mistakes made by my team." That was his explanation whenever I asked, claiming it was work-related. However, he often smiled while looking at his phone, which made me suspicious. Despite my suspicions of his infidelity, I couldn't bring myself to confront him, feeling guilty that we hadn't been able to have children. John seemed so looking forward to having children with me. Why can't I seem to get pregnant? Not being able to conceive was a major concern for me, and I had been thinking about getting it diagnosed. Amidst this, my sister announced she would be making a major announcement in her video stream. Curious about what it could be, I decided to watch her stream. To my surprise, she announced that she was pregnant. "What? When did you get pregnant, sis?" We had been in touch recently, and she hadn't mentioned anything of the sort. Moreover, when did she get married? Or is she planning to? I hadn't heard any news about her marriage. I wonder who her husband is. I felt a bit upset she hadn't told me directly, but still, the news of her pregnancy made me incredibly happy, as if it were my own news, and I immediately sent her a message. Then, my sister invited me out for a meal, and we made plans to meet. That night, I told my husband about my sister's pregnancy.
"Really? Sarah's pregnant?" "Yes, exactly. She announced it during her video stream today, and I was so surprised." "Is that so? That's wonderful."
He seemed as happy as if it were his own good news, already thinking about what gift to give. Seeing my husband so excited, I couldn't help but smile. However, his reaction shifted when I mentioned my next plans.
"I've made plans to have dinner with my sister soon."
"Oh, is that so?" "Yeah." "Something wrong?" "No, nothing. Just, now that Sarah is pregnant, make sure not to stress her out, okay?" His sudden nervousness made me slightly suspicious. But I was so happy about my sister's pregnancy, I chose to believe I was imagining his odd behavior. A few days later, I went to the restaurant where I had arranged to meet my sister. She was already there. Finding my sister, I sat down, ordered our meal, and immediately started bombarding her with questions.
"Hey, sis. Congratulations. When did you get pregnant? I was so surprised." "Sorry. I wanted to surprise you, Amy, with the announcement."
"But I wish you had told me first." "So, who's the father of the baby?"
"That's a secret for now. I'll introduce him to you soon." "Ah, come on. I'm so curious. Tell me soon."
After that, my sister and I chatted about this and that, enjoying our meal together. As my sister's pregnancy progressed, her belly grew larger day by day. Thinking it might be getting difficult for her to manage things on her own, I offered to help out. "Sis, it must be getting hard to manage on your own, right? Can I help with anything?"
"No, it's okay. Don't worry. I have someone helping me out, so I'm all good.
All right. But let me know if you need anything, okay?
Despite my repeated offers to help, my sister stubbornly refused and wouldn't even give me her apartment address. I talked to my husband about it. Maybe she's hired a helper or someone? Amy, you don't need to worry. If anything comes up, she'll contact you. No need to go over to her place unnecessarily. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Oh, and I'll be home late tomorrow, so don't wait up for dinner. Really? Okay, got it. Though I had to accept my husband's words, his actions while smirking and looking at his phone made me suspicious. While I was concerned about my sister, John's behavior had become increasingly suspicious lately. I finally began to suspect that my husband might be having an affair and decided to secretly gather evidence. Months later, I received news that my sister had given birth. To celebrate my sister's new arrival, I rushed to the hospital. As I was about to open the door to her hospital room, I heard voices from inside.
Thanks for coming, John.
No, I should be the one thanking you, Sarah, for having my child. He's going to be a handsome boy just like John.
I was hoping for a girl who looked like Sarah, though.
Oh, come on. Shall we go for a second one then?
I was shocked by the conversation I overheard. It was unmistakably John and my sister's voices. I was surprised that John was there before me, but even more shocked to learn that my sister's child was John's. Despite my surprise, I managed to stay somewhat calm. I resolved to open the door to my sister's hospital room. Sis, I came to visit you.
Amy? What? Why is John here? Wasn't he supposed to be at work today?
When I appeared, John was surprised, but I pretended not to know why he was here.
Amy, you came. Thank you.
You're welcome. But why is John here? That's what I'm asking. Well, you see. John clearly became flustered. I heard the two of you talking from the other side of the door. Can you explain what's going on? Then, my sister said to me with a triumphant smile. What do you mean, what's going on? You know, don't you? John is the father of this child. John is the father. It seems the conversation I overheard before entering the room wasn't a misunderstanding.
You really are clueless, not realizing that John has been with me. It's actually hilarious.
You've been having an affair behind my back? That's right.
Wait, so when you said you'd make me happy, that was a lie?
There's no use for someone who can't even have a child, they said, laughing together. It appeared that John truly was the father of my sister's child, and they had been having an affair behind my back all along. Actually, I've been a huge fan of Sarah even before I married you. I heard that when we started dating. I approached you because I knew you were Sarah's sister. I thought if I got close to you, eventually I'd get closer to Sarah. John is a huge fan of mine and also a viewer of my yoga videos. Indeed, when I first mentioned my sister while we were dating, my husband was surprised. But I was shocked to learn he was such an enthusiastic fan. You were that big of a fan of my sister?
Of course. I've left comments on all of Sarah's videos. No man could resist falling for someone as beautiful and stylish as Sarah.
I always noticed someone consistently leaving comments on my videos, and when I found out it was John, I was surprised. And just like that, it didn't take long for us to start dating. I was shocked to learn that the purpose of marrying me was also to get closer to my sister. Hearing the truth about my husband and sister's affair left me speechless. Well, as you can see, Sarah and I have a child now. Pack your things and get out of my life. We're getting a divorce, he declared, thrusting the already filled-out divorce papers at me. I finally understood why my sister wouldn't let me help her or give me her apartment's location. And all of John's suspicious behavior made sense now. Overcome more by anger than sadness, I calmly accepted, understood, took the divorce papers, and left the hospital. I couldn't forgive these two. Filled with despair and anger, I went to the municipal office to file the divorce papers, and just like that, John and I became strangers to each other. And so, I made a call to a certain place. The next day, my now ex-husband John bombarded me with an incredible number of calls. After ignoring them for a while, I reluctantly answered due to the incessant ringing.
Hey! Pick up faster. More importantly, Amy, what did you do with the house?
The house? Since I don't need it anymore, I disposed of it.
What? Do you think you can do something like that without my permission?
Since I submitted the divorce papers yesterday, we are strangers now. Why should I need permission from a stranger? On the day he confronted me with the divorce, I submitted the divorce papers. After leaving the hospital, I had called a certain place, a real estate agency. I negotiated with the real estate agency to sell the house and land in its entirety immediately. Don't mess with me. That's my house, even if we're divorced. Oh, it's not yours. The house and land were purchased under my name. What? You wouldn't know, since you left all the preparations to me. Indeed, the house and land were all purchased with the inheritance I received from my late parents. John, who hardly helped with the wedding preparations or setting up our new home, had no idea. John, who hardly ever helped with preparations for our wedding or setting up our new home, had no way of knowing. Moreover, having suspected infidelity for some time, I had installed miniature cameras and listening devices in the house. Thanks to that, I gathered evidence of the affair and had been consulting with a lawyer, strategizing on when to initiate the divorce. Planning for a potential divorce, I had been packing my belongings gradually, taking advantage of the nights John came home late, which made moving out smoother. John must have been shocked to find his belongings dumped in front of the house, now marked for sale, after returning from my sister's place. However, John couldn't accept what I said. The house and land are marital property, he protested, and even said, I won't allow you to do as you please. So, I stood my ground in response. The only reason we could afford the land and house was thanks to the inheritance my parents left me. That's. Plus, the purchase was made after you proposed, but before we were legally married, right? So, it doesn't count as shared property.
What? After all, we were still strangers before our marriage.
When John was at a loss for words over the phone, a voice said, "Let me speak to her," and the call was handed over to my sister. Knowing about the inheritance, my sister seemed panicked. Then, part of that inheritance should have belonged to me too, she said furiously. However, our parents had explicitly stated during their lifetime, we will not leave any inheritance to our unfortunate daughter, Sarah, and had left a will to that effect, ensuring that all the inheritance went to me. I explained all of this to my sister in detail. Despite this, John and my sister continued to complain over the phone. Ignoring them, I said sarcastically, I'm quite busy myself. So, I wish you both happiness, and hung up the phone. I then blocked John and my sister's contact numbers. Afterward, John, having suddenly lost his place to return to, ended up living in my sister's apartment. With the child on the way, John remarried my sister. They should have been able to live comfortably, given my sister's earnings. However, the fact that the child was the result of an affair was dramatically exposed in a tabloid magazine. Moreover, the revelation that the other party was her sister's husband spread quickly, causing a scandal. My sister, once a popular yoga instructor, saw her popularity plummet. Additionally, the tabloid extended its investigation to John's surroundings. Struggling with the magazine's scrutiny, his company demoted him to a subsidiary. John's hard-earned promotion evaporated, turning all his efforts into nothing. My sister's yoga class attendance plummeted, and it seems her video streaming ad revenue dried up as well, forcing them to vacate their apartment. They moved into a small public housing, but with John not being cooperative in parenting, their home was rife with arguments. Their noisy disputes often led to complaints from neighbors, and the police were called out on several occasions. On the other hand, I managed to successfully find a new job. Working in a new environment for the first time in a while, I've been enjoying my days. During this period, I also took up tennis again and was fortunate enough to meet a new man. We started playing tennis together on weekends, and after our games, we'd chat over coffee at a cafe, talking about daily life and tennis. With time having passed since my divorce, we are planning to get married soon. We intend to support each other and spend happy days together.